What does AI consulting actually cost? A pricing guide for mid-market companies. How much does AI consulting cost for mid-market companies, and what drives the price? AI consulting for mid-market companies, 50 to 500 employees, typically costs $35,000 to $150,000 from a boutique specialist covering strategy, implementation, and change management. Enterprise firms, Big Four, charge 500K 5M plus for comparable scope. The more important number, S&P Global's 2025 research shows 42% of companies abandoned most of their AI initiatives before they reached production, up from 17% the year before. Price determines what you spend. Methodology determines whether it works. Every mid-market CEO I've sat across from in the past 2 years has had the same moment. A proposal lands from a large consulting firm. The number at the bottom is somewhere between $600,000 and $1.2 million. They read it twice. They forward it to their CFO. Then they put it in a folder labeled Revisit Later, and later never comes. 6 months pass. Their competitors are running AI-powered workflows. Their team is still copy-pasting between tools, and the CEO is still waiting for a number that makes sense for a company their size. That number exists. The problem is that almost no one in this industry will tell you what it is. The AI consulting market is built on pricing opacity. Enterprise firms hide behind RFP processes. Boutiques say, "Contact us." Platform vendors quote per-seat licensing without mentioning the implementation costs underneath. Everyone publishes case studies about ROI. Almost no one publishes what the investment actually was. This article does. We're going to walk through what AI consulting actually costs across every tier of the market: Big Four, mid-tier, boutique, and platform licensing, give you the data to evaluate any proposal you receive, and show you the math that reframes the entire investment question. One number before we start. According to S&P Global's 2025 Voice of the Enterprise survey of over 1,000 senior IT and business leaders, 42% of companies abandoned the majority of their AI initiatives before production, up from 17% just 1 year earlier. The primary cause isn't budget, it's methodology. That distinction matters more than any fee. The market that runs on pricing opacity. The $40,000 quote and the $400,000 quote may be answering different questions entirely. The AI consulting market has an information asymmetry problem. Buyers don't know what they should be paying. Sellers know exactly what the market will bear, and every incentive runs toward keeping that gap open. There are 3 structural reasons prices stay hidden. The first is scope variability. AI transformation means a 4-week strategy assessment to one firm and an 18-month enterprise-wide implementation to another. Without shared vocabulary, buyers can't compare proposals even when they try. The $40,000 quote and the $400,000 quote may be answering different questions entirely. The second is brand premium. Enterprise firms charge for their name, their network, and the institutional credibility that comes with a well-known firm on your vendor list. That premium is real and sometimes worth paying, but it's not related to the quality of the work delivered. It's a separate product. Mid-market buyers often pay for it without understanding they're buying it. The third is market immaturity. Serious AI consulting for mid-market companies is less than 3 years old as a distinct practice. Rate cards haven't standardized. Boutiques are figuring out their own pricing as they go. The result is a market where identical services can be priced at 10x variance, depending on who's doing the negotiating and what they think the buyer can bear. Understanding these 3 dynamics is the prerequisite to reading any proposal clearly. Once you see them, you stop comparing numbers and start comparing what the numbers buy. What enterprise firms actually charge, and who it's built for. Start at the top of the market because it sets the reference point most mid-market buyers are implicitly comparing against, even when they've never seen a Big Four proposal. The Big Four, Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, EY, and their tier-adjacent peers, Accenture, McKinsey Digital, BCGX, operate on a rate card structure that rarely surfaces in proposals directly. Partner-level billing rates for AI engagements run $400 to $600 per hour. Director and senior manager rates sit at $250 to $400. Analyst and associate rates, the people doing most of the day-to-day work, bill at $150 to $250. The blended reality compounds quickly. A typical AI strategy engagement involves a project team of 6 to 10 people across multiple seniority levels, running 4 to 6 months. A 6-person team at a blended $300 hour, working 40 hours per week over 20 weeks, $1.44 million. That's before firm-specific IP licensing, travel costs, or accelerator tools. Enterprise AI consulting engagements from Big Four firms typically range from $500,000 to $5 million, depending on scope and team composition. In September 2025, Fortune reported that AI engineers deployed as consultants at enterprise firms were billing at $900 per hour, reflecting specialized scarcity premium on top of standard rates. For large-scale implementations spanning multiple business units, proposals at $2 million to $5 million are not unusual. What justifies that number? Several things that are genuinely valuable for the right client. Global delivery infrastructure, regulatory expertise in highly scrutinized industries, financial services, healthcare, defense, the ability to embed 40 specialists simultaneously across geographies, and the institutional credibility that comes with a specific name on the audit trail when a board or regulator asks who validated the approach. What it doesn't justify for most mid-market companies, you don't need global delivery infrastructure. Your AI program won't involve 40 consultants. Your regulatory exposure is real, but not Senate hearing level. And the name on the proposal matters to your board only if your board is asking about it, which most mid-market boards aren't. The Big Four are excellent firms for the clients they're built to serve. A 100-person professional services company is not that client. Engaging them anyway means paying for capabilities you won't use, at a price point that consumes the entire AI budget before a single workflow is built. The investment range built for mid-market. Below the enterprise tier sits two distinct layers that most mid-market buyers collapse into one category. They're worth separating. Mid-tier technology consultancies, typically 50 to 500 consultants, often regional strategy firms or AI-specialized practices, price AI transformation work at $100,000 to $500,000. Hourly rates sit at $175 to $350 for senior practitioners. These firms can be strong fits for companies with defined use cases, existing technical infrastructure, and an internal team ready to absorb the work. They're a poor fit when what the client actually needs is strategic clarity about whether AI should change the business model itself. That's a different kind of work that most technology-first firms aren't set up to do. Boutique AI specialists, founder-led firms of 2 to 15 practitioners built specifically for mid-market engagements, represent the most significant shift in the consulting market over the past 18 months. These firms bring something the larger tiers structurally cannot. Senior practitioners personally involved in every engagement, methodologies built from actual mid-market implementation experience, and pricing calibrated for companies in the 10 MS to 200 million revenue range. Boutique project fees typically run $25,000 to $150,000. The scope breakdown. One structural point that matters. Boutique firms that price by project rather than by the hour have fundamentally different incentives. Hourly billing rewards slow work and penalizes expertise. A consultant who solves your problem in 10 hours instead of 20 earns half as much. Project pricing creates alignment. The firm scopes the outcome, prices the value, and delivers. For any engagement involving strategy or implementation, project-based pricing is what to ask for. The questions to ask before signing anything go deeper than pricing model, but this is where to start. The platform costs missing from every budget. Consulting fees are one line item. Platform licensing is another. And it's the one most companies fail to model accurately before they start. Here is what the AI software layer actually costs for a company of 50 people in 2026. Microsoft 365. Copilot, $21 user month, standard annual plan, $30 user month, enterprise. For 50 users, $12,600, $18,000 per year. Claude, Anthropic, $20 per user month for Pro. For 50 users, $12,000 per year. Teams and API access vary by usage volume. Custom AI application development, 50,000 to 200,000 plus for purpose-built tools. Ongoing AI infrastructure maintenance, 1,500 to 3,500 per month for companies running a full AI operating system. The realistic total cost of ownership for a mid-market company running a serious AI program through year one, boutique consulting engagement plus platform licensing plus internal team time, typically falls between $75,000 and $200,000. Platform costs are a separate ongoing line item that should appear in your model before the consulting conversation starts. Most proposals don't include them. Budget for both. The number that changes the investment conversation. Every conversation about AI consulting cost is actually two conversations. The first is about what you spend. The second, the more important one, is about what happens if it doesn't work. The data on AI initiative failure is not ambiguous. MIT's 2025 research found that 95% of corporate AI pilots fail to scale beyond the proof of concept stage. Rand Corporation's 2024 analysis put the broader AI project failure rate at 80%, twice the rate of traditional IT projects. And S&P Global's 2025 Voice of the Enterprise survey found that the percentage of companies abandoning most of their AI initiatives before production surged from 17% in 2024 to 42% in 2025. This is not a technology problem. McKinsey's State of AI 2025 report found that only 5% of companies see more than 5% EBIT impact from AI, despite 88% now using AI in at least one function. BCG's 2024 research confirmed it directly. 7 of AI implementation challenges are organizational, people and processes, not technical. McKinsey's 2025 State of AI research identified workflow redesign as the single organizational change most strongly correlated with measurable EBIT impact from AI. Yet only 21% of companies using generative AI have redesigned any of their workflows. This is the gap that explains why investment doesn't produce returns. Understanding this failure pattern reframes the cost question entirely. The difference between AI consulting firms isn't primarily price. It's whether they're built to solve the organizational problem or just the technical one. A $35,000 engagement from a firm with genuine change management methodology inside the work will outperform a $350,000 engagement from a firm that treats change management as a final training module. The math that makes the investment case. The standard AI ROI framing is efficiency. How many hours saved? How many FTEs freed? Here's a conservative model for a mid-market company of 50 people. Time recovery assumption. 20 people recover 5 hours per week through AI-augmented work. Value per hour. At a fully loaded blended cost of $80 per hour, the weekly math is 20 $80 allows $8,000 per week in recovered organizational capacity. For a mid-market company of 50 employees, conservative AI adoption generates $8,000 per week in recovered organizational capacity. A $35,000 boutique AI consulting engagement achieves payback in approximately 4.4 weeks under this model. The ceiling on return is determined not by the consulting fee, but by the speed and depth of organizational adoption. Why doesn't the enterprise payback math work as cleanly? Deloitte's AI ROI research shows the actual average payback at enterprise scale is 2 to 4 years, versus weeks for mid-market. The AI implementation architecture that compounds over time starts working faster when the organization is agile enough to let it. For a deeper look at measurement, our ROI measurement framework walks through the metrics that matter at each stage. 5 questions every proposal should answer. Once you have a proposal in hand, from any tier, these 5 questions will tell you more about its quality than any credential, case study, or rate card comparison. 1. What does success look like at 90 days, and how will it be measured? A serious engagement answers this with specific metrics: adoption rate, workflows deployed, time recovered per week, decisions that changed. Deliverables are not outcomes. Hold for outcomes. 2. What does your organization own when the engagement ends? Every AI consulting engagement should leave the organization more capable than when it started, not more dependent. A genuine answer names a specific internal role and describes what they'll be able to do independently. 3. Where does change management sit in the methodology? If change management appears as a phase at the end, that is a warning signal. BCG's research: 70% of AI implementation failures are people and process problems, not technical ones. It needs to be present from day one. What is the sequencing rationale? The most expensive mistake in AI transformation isn't choosing the wrong platform, it's deploying the right platform in the wrong order. McKinsey's data shows workflow redesign is the single biggest predictor of EBIT impact, yet only 21% of organizations have done it. 5. What does the work actually look like week to week? Not the output, the work itself. Understanding what AI consulting work actually involves is the foundation for evaluating whether any specific firm can deliver it. The right investment for the right moment. Mid-market companies approach AI transformation with one of two errors. The first is enterprise envy, trying to replicate what large companies do at enterprise scale and cost before the organization is ready. The second is discount thinking, choosing the lowest fee option and expecting enterprise quality results from a firm that priced itself to close a deal, not deliver an outcome. Neither produces what's needed. What mid-market companies actually need is an approach calibrated for their organizational reality. Companies that make decisions fast, implement without bureaucratic process layers, and need to see evidence of progress within 90 days, not 18 months. That speed isn't a constraint, it's a structural advantage. The investment question is real and worth answering carefully, but it's the second question. The first is whether the organization is genuinely ready to treat AI as the business model level event it is, not a software purchase, not a cost reduction project, not something that goes on hold when Q3 numbers come in light. When you've found the firm that can answer all 5 questions above, and the methodology matches the organizational readiness you actually have, the investment math takes care of itself. At the right level, with the right approach, payback is measured in weeks, not years. The conversation you have before signing determines which outcome you get. AI consulting cost. Full market reference. For a deeper look at what a mid-market AI consulting engagement actually produces, the 4 phases, deliverables, and what you own when it's done, see the architecture engagement.